Were someone to carry out a survey today into the most well-known title from Germany's filmmaking history, Metropolis would certainly win hands down. Yet had critics at the time been asked to bet on which German film would be remembered some 70 or 80 years after its launch, none would have put so much as a penny on it. It would appear that it is the very contradictory and inconsistent nature of this film that made it such a flop in the 1920s, is the reason for its consistent up-to-dateness. How did it happen? How did German cinema come to Metropolis?
The emergence of German cinema following World War I was marked by another film.
The writers intended the film to be a kind of reckoning with the autocracy of Wilhelminian Germany. The collapse of which allowed German cinema to blossom for the first time.
Der Kaiser hat abgedankt. Und seine Freunde sind verschwunden. Über die Jahre hat das Volk auf der ganzen Linie gesiegt. Das Alte und Morsche, die Monarchie ist zusammengebrochen. Es lebe das Neue, es lebe die Deutsche Republik.
The collapse of traditional social values released energies which now flowed into the new art. Before the war, the path towards the aesthetic formation of German cinema was being laid by Expressionism in literature and the arts.
By the painters of the Bridge in Dresden. By the Blue Rider in Munich. By Georges Grosz in Berlin.
Expressionism in art and literature was followed
by Expressionism in the theatre. It was followed by Expressionist architecture, initially just designs. Followed by
cinema. Metropolis was the last Expressionist film, Caligari the first one. Caligari is, above all, the work of painters Hermann Warm, Walter Reimann and Walter Röhrig, writers Karl Mayer and Hans Janowitz, and actors Werner Krauss and Konrad Veidt. The architect Hans Pölzig built the ghetto in Der Golem. Architects, painters, theatre people and writers were all strongly drawn to the medium of film. Film seemed to offer the opportunity to counteract the division between progressive elitist art and reactionary mass entertainment. Theatre director Karl-Heinz Martin, set designer Robert Nepach and the actor Ernst Deutsch made a movie from Georg Kaiser's play From Morning Until Midnight, which, by the way, was the first German black and white film. All others had been coloured. The painter Walter Ruckmann called his abstract or absolute film Light Play Opus 1, 2, 3 and 4.
The creation of these films at a time other than this would have been impossible. The Marx devaluation enabled the German industry to sell its films cheaply abroad. It also made the German market uninteresting for imports. 400, 500, 600 films were now being produced in Germany every year.
An unprecedented chance for all manner of both trash and art. The first films to achieve international standing are by Ernst Lubitsch. He too came from the theatre, from Max Reinhardt. He swapped the theatre for the cinema. Another student of Reinhardt's who had enjoyed a friendly relationship with the Expressionists before the war, Friedrich Wilhelm Murnau. Next to Caligari, his Nosferatu plays a major role in establishing prestige for Germany's cinema in its arch-enemy's capital, Paris. Then Paris raves about another German film, Der müde Tod, Weary Death, the film by Viennese-born Fritz Lang.
The painter Lang, during a leave from the front, started writing screenplays. He got his first screen credit for Hilde Warren and Death. During a sick leave, Lang also appeared on stage as an actor.
Und da sah mich Erich Pommer und wir kamen auf Film zu sprechen und Pommer mochte die Sachen, die mir vorschwebten und er engagierte mich dann als Dramaturg. Ich ging nach Berlin und arbeitete dort zuerst als Dramaturg.
For Erich Pommer's production company, Dekla, 7 films for which he had written the screenplay were premiered in 1919.
Mir gefielen nicht unbedingt die Sachen, die ich dann sah, wie meine Filme inszeniert wurden. Und als ich dann einen Film schrieb, den die Leute, so Dekla Bioskop, sehr gerne haben wollten, der hieß Halbblut, sagte ich, ja, ich verkaufe Ihnen den Film, wenn ich Regie führen könnte.
During the inflation years, Lang makes film after film after film.
In dieser Zeit gab es ein Plakat in Berlin. Berlin, dein Tänzer ist der Tod.
Der müde Tod. Artistic prestige for Lang came with his 8th film. Death itself is featured as architect, narrator and director. It has built a wall with neither doors nor windows. The young woman, Lil Dagova, whose lover has been taken away by death, sees in her dreams a gap opening in the wall. Only in death does she find her way back to her lover. After the fairy tale, a detective novel.
Dr. Mabuse, der Spieler, ein Bild der Zeit und Inferno, Menschen der Zeit. Dr. Mabuse ist das Prototyp dieser Zeit. Er ist ein Spieler. Er spielt Karten, er spielt Roulette und er spielt mit Menschen. Er spielt mit ihren Schicksalen.
Mabuse too is a producer and is himself a part of his production. Mabuse has no face. He is an array of masks.
The actor playing him, Rudolf Klein-Rogge, was married to Thea von Harbu, screenwriter at Dekla. It was there she and Lang met. They became a couple. Shortly after the start of Dr. Mabuse, the director and the writer married.
She is involved in all his films from 1920 to 33. Lang's supporters always held Harbu responsible for the trash and clichés in his films. Lang always defended her. They were in agreement. For them, the newspaper novel was as valuable as fairy tales and legends.
Just think about the brutality, barbarity and crime accumulated in the most charming of German fairy tales, Lang wrote.
And in German legends, Lang filmed Die Nibelungen, first film Siegfried. For her, writes Thea von Harbu, this was not the song of loyalty, but a tale of deceit and betrayal, murder and revenge, blame and penance, in pitiless chains. Second film, Kriemhild's Revenge.
Fritz Lang during the making of the film. The Burgundians are coming to celebrate Midsummer's Night in Etzel's banqueting hall. A Burgundian comes with a grave message.
For Lang, this presented both another architectural dream and nightmare. The strictly ordered system at the Burgundian court in the first part is answered in the second with the earthy shapes of the castle of the Huns. When at the end Etzel's castle is smoke and flames, one does not expect a ruin. The flames and the smoke are themselves moving architecture. As the film premieres, the post-war period is at an end. The mark has regained its stability, the laws of the marketplace are back in effect. In the arts, new objectivity is replacing expressionism. The heyday of inflation-driven cinema is over. So too the self-sufficiency of German filmmaking. The Universum Film AG, in short UFA, has developed into Germany's most powerful film company. But now Hollywood is making huge efforts to get a foothold in the German market. For a loan of 17 million marks, UFA agrees to reserve half of all its cinema performances for films produced by Paramount and Metro-Goldwyn, and to grant these two companies the US rights of its own films. The Paar-UFA-Met agreement, which would also decide the fate of the next Lang von Harbu film.
The screenplay is written during a holiday in June 1924. UFA publicly announces the project in July. Filming is scheduled to start in the autumn. But first, Lang and Pommer sail to America on the steamer named Deutschland. Also on board, the architect Erich Mendelsohn. Mendelsohn speaking about Lang. Apart from his monocle and other Viennese paraphernalia, he is a thoughtful, active, and firmly daring person.
Harbour entrance, Mendelssohn writes,
Turns, spatial cataract, spatial battle, endless lush of victory.
Mendelssohn calls his journey a voyage of discovery for optics and mind.
The city fills with energy during the day. At night it bubbles with life, in a web of vehicle lights, in the bright calling of the billboards, in the vertical heights of the skyscrapers.
A photo by Lang. He would later claim that it was New York's skyscrapers that provided him with the inspiration for Metropolis.
I saw the buildings like a vertical curtain, opalescent and very light, filling the back of the stage, hanging from a sinister sky, in order to dazzle, to diffuse, to hypnotize.
From New York, Lang and Pommer traveled to Hollywood, visiting studios, studying special effects, purchasing cameras. Thea von Harbu at the same time is writing the novel and screenplay. The novel is serialized in a magazine from August the 26th onwards, before being released as a book.
Announced on several occasions, delayed again and again, filming eventually begins on the 22nd of May 1925. Filming takes place on the premises and in the studios belonging to UFA in Neubabelsberg and the Zeppelinhalle at Staaken near Berlin. Filming continues until the end of October 1926, 310 shooting days and 60 nights. Instead of the planned budget of 1.5 million marks, the film's final cost is reported to have been 6 million marks.
Metropolis begins as an abstract animation film. The film's title is created from surfaces and lines and forms the bridge to the graphic design of the city mountains. Animated drawings are followed by animated models and then documentary shots. Metropolis, the last expressionist film, is also the first new objectivity film.
Reviewing the film, young Louis Buñuel wrote, "Cinema is being used as a faithful interpreter, serving the boldest dreams of architecture."